Firerose, and this is No One Asked Her, where we speak the truth anyway. Today, I'm incredibly grateful to be joined by my extraordinary guest. He is an IDF soldier who just returned from active deployment in Gaza. And he is one of the very few on a small team who were chosen and entrusted with one of the most remarkable roles, that was to greet the hostages as they crossed the border from Gaza, where they'd been held captive for over 2 years in tunnels by the terrorists. And I'm so honored to have him as a guest because the remarkable stories that he has are unparalleled. So I'd like to welcome Eli Wininger. Welcome to the show.
Dang, I got chills and almost teared up just hearing that again, because I was reliving the moment as you were saying it. Wow. It was the best moment of my life.
That is so incredible. I can't wait
by far the best moment
to
of my
hear
life.
all about it. So this is literally like a month ago we're talking about.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. And
pretty much a month ago.
And so you've been deployed in
I've spent just over 7 months in the war.
Wow.
In general, since October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So that ends up being like 200, probably between 200 and 250 days in the last 2+ years in the war.
That is just wild.
Yeah.
Firstly, how does it feel being back in America after all that?
It's really nice because I feel home in both places.
Mm-hmm.
And
you grew up in LA.
Grew up in LA, yeah. But I also have a deep, deep, deep connection with Israel.
Yeah.
And my mom's Israeli, so I feel very much at home there. But spiritually.
Yeah.
Spiritually, there's just, every time I'm there, it's so hard to leave. You ask any Jew, you ask any Israeli, anyone who has a deep connection with Israel, it's the second they land in Israel.
That's so beautiful. So it really is like the Holy Land.
100%.
And you can feel it, and you can.
100%.
What's the difference? Yeah.
Deeply practicing or religious in that sense. I believe in God, and I have my own relationship with God, but I don't follow all the rules of the Torah. But I still, when you land in Israel and you touch ground, there's a holiness to it.
Wow.
There's an energy to it that just reverberates, and it makes you want to stay there.
That's so beautiful. And when was the first time? How old were you when you first went to Israel?
Well, I think I was really young, like 2 years old.
Okay, yeah. So it's always.
So I don't even remember the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would go growing up every 2 to 3 years with my family.
Yeah.
I was bar mitzvahed there.
Wow, that's so
all
cool.
my siblings were bar mitzvahed.
Yeah.
There. And then we'd have friends that were bar mitzvahed, or we would just go for fun, visiting my family out there.
Yeah.
So it was very much ingrained in who we are.
That's extraordinary. And so when you decided that you were going to enlist in the IDF, that was a voluntary thing that
totally.
Just can you tell us about that moment and how you made such an incredibly heroic decision that unlike every 18-year-old Israeli that is mandatorily listed in the IDF because unfortunately it's under that much threat constantly that they need the entire population to be in the army, and
you have to.
Wow.
You have to.
And so as an American, obviously you're a dual citizen, is that right? Or
I actually have 3 citizenships. I also have a French
incredible.
citizenship.
That's
a
incredible.
Secret one.
Yeah, very cool.
I don't think you're allowed to have citizenship.
Don't worry, we won't tell anyone. It'll just live on the internet forever.
It's just us and all the podcast listeners. It's fine.
That's amazing. Well, so what was that moment like that you, firstly, like how old were you, where were you, and what happened?
To enlist.
Yeah.
So I had grown up in it. My uncles and my mom were all in the military. On my dad's side, my grandpa's a Holocaust survivor, so I felt a very, very deep connection to the state of Israel and belief in Zionism, and that the Jewish state has to exist for us to exist, because it's literally saved and is the reason that my family is here. And growing up, I always had that connection. And then I remember, and I had a few friends a year or two above me in school that had enlisted. And you see the people above you and what they do and all that. So I had wanted to enlist after high school. That would have been the age of 18. Told my parents I want to do it. They had found a way to convince me out of it by basically saying they're not going to pay for my college education at all.
They were not a fan of the
that's
idea.
a pretty expensive decision. So I delayed, or I decided not to do it.
Yeah.
Went to USC, spent 4 years. I was in AEPI, so it was a Jewish fraternity. I was in a Jewish organization called Tamid, a business organization that is very like business development focused, but in Israel.
Yeah.
So stayed very connected to Judaism and to Israel. Did a college internship there. And then between junior and senior year of college, I was working at a real estate internship, and the 2014 Gaza war broke out. So it's called Tzuk Eitan in Hebrew, or Operation Protective Edge in English. And that was a 6-week war, much more smaller scale than what we're seeing now. But there were still protests. There was still all this anti-Israel, anti-Semitism online. All of that was happening on a much more micro scale. And I started doing everything I could, being an activist to the degree I could, commenting and arguing with people on social media, posting on social media, going to rallies, raising money for my friends who are out there. But a deep part of me felt like, this is my war. I should have been here.
Wow.
Like, I should have been there, and I should have been part of it.
Felt like almost guilty
Very guilty for not doing it,
war.
and felt like I never wanted to have this feeling again.
Yeah.
That what if kind of thing. And that's the moment I realized. Spent half the time I was in the internship, I was focused and arguing with people on social media and organizing rallies rather than actually doing the work. I realized I'm so passionate about this thing, I should give more time to it, really care about it. And if I can give 3 years of my life to something that's so much bigger than me, and that would, for the land that literally saved my family, then it's beyond worth it.
Wow.
And the last one, actually, also, that was a small part of it, was I had heard about all these bad apple stories about IDF soldiers, which I didn't believe, or if I did believe them, they were, I did believe them, but they're the 1 in a million, the 1 in 1,000 story that it's being amplified. And it's like, if I can, see how moral the IDF is, because everyone talks about how it's the most moral army in the world. If I can go and see for myself how moral it is, but also if there are little instances that aren't, and be a commander and be a leader and stop those instances from happening in the moment, then that's a huge ripple effect I can make.
That's incredible.
And so I was like, I want to go and I want to join a special unit and I want to be a commander. So that was the moment I decided, and I stopped applying, when I got back to school, stopped applying to jobs going forward.
Wow.
And just started the Israeli bureaucracy process of enlisting in the military and becoming a citizen and all that kind of stuff. And fast forward a year later, I was in uniform.
Wow. And so, and this is like, what year now are we looking at?
This is 2014, 2015. I was deciding. 2014 was the war. 2015 was the process, and 2016 I officially enlisted in April of 2016.
That is so remarkable.
Yeah.
So when you first got there, and you were like, what's the process of becoming a commander? I mean, that's sounds.
You just have to show. So first I was in a special forces unit, which I'd say starting from about 10,000 people applying to different special forces units. They probably have, in all of those top ones that you could get to from those tryouts, there's maybe 200 places available. So you're looking at like a, I don't know, what is that, 2% acceptance rate, something like that.
That's so tiny.
0.2.
Oh my gosh.
It's a pretty small acceptance rate.
And what kind of qualities? I mean, I can imagine, but what kind of qualities are they really looking for?
It's based on physical, obviously. You need to be in really good shape.
And I forgot to mention in the intro, you're an ultra marathon runner.
Yes.
So that part you've got down.
Yes.
That is insane.
Well, I did that afterward. Before the Army, I did an Ironman. Yeah. Which was also tough. Before the Army, I did an Ironman. Part of the idea of the Ironman was, 1, to check something off my bucket list. Yeah. But 2, I knew that would get me in really good shape for Special Forces training, mentally speaking. Yes. Because the Special Forces is much more mental than it is physical. Interesting. They're not trying to see who's the fastest in a one-time 100-yard dash. That's not going to make a difference. They're trying to see who's the fastest on the 20th or 50th or 30th 100-yard dash in the sand that you're doing.
Yeah.
And not just that, but after you do that, who is cutting the corner or who's still going all the way around? Who's, when the activity is over and they say some sort of task that everyone has to do in a 5-minute period, and at the same time you're supposed to get water, who's going right away to just get water because they're dead?
Yeah.
Who's completing the task with the team and of the team and for the team and then getting water? Who's handing out water to their teammates before they drink for themselves?
Wow.
They're looking at all these small social things that are really important for community bonding, for sacrificing, for giving more.
Yeah.
They want to see what kind of teammate you're going to be.
That's so interesting because it's like if you're a
selfish
great
narcissist that's in insane shape,
yes,
no one's going to want to be on a team with you, and that team's going to be awful.
Right.
Yes. And then within being a commander, once we started our special forces training, like I'd been accepted to my unit, which is called Gaza. It's a commando brigade. We specialize in combating Hezbollah in Lebanon. But once I got accepted to that and started the training, they ended up selecting the people that were showing more leadership initiative. All sorts of little tasks that, same stuff that I was mentioning before, but who's doing that consistently, and of the people that were selected, who's still doing that. And it keeps going, and that's how they selected.
Did you ever feel like afraid that, it's a sort of really deep question, but did you fear for your life, and at what point did that begin to sort of enter the picture? Because what you're talking about is sort of like a next level, otherworldly kind of heroism that you're stepping into the line of fire in a real war that is happening, that you do not have to, by like mandatory enlistment, and that's a big deal. Yeah,
there are all sorts of small moments that I would say it would hit me. First time I got on the flight to go to the military by myself. But I hadn't even started training or anything yet.
Yeah.
Then when I finished training and I was hopping on my flight now back, I'd visited home after training and was going back again, and I knew when I was going back, they could call us for a war or any mission or anything anytime, and these were getting more serious. And I felt it there. It was our first actual physical mission that we had done. You feel it, but everything ends up being safe. The first real time... First 2 real times are when we went into Gaza. So I finished my 3-year service, went back to real life, spent 3-4 years in the workplace, and then October 7th hit. We get sent out. I'm at the airport. My dad's literally sending his son off to war.
Oh my goodness.
We're crying at the airport. The people checking us in.
Is this days after October 7th?
A day or two later, yeah.
Wow.
The person checking us in is crying because she knows that I'm about to go to war, and everyone's so emotional. And that was a big one. But then when I physically went into Gaza 2 months later, and we get off of the armored vehicles, and you're looking around and there's tunnels everywhere, and you hear explosions and you're hearing shooting, and you're carrying your gun, and it's like, this ain't a drill.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of drills. We've done a lot of missions that are in more controlled areas. We've done a lot of missions that are supposed to be very silent and secretive, and not a bullet should be fired. This is war. And you look around and you see a war zone. You see buildings destroyed. You see complete wreckage.
What does that feel like, being in an active war zone, knowing that you're responsible for your own life and your teammates' life? Teammates isn't probably the right word, but
I would say being in war, and that feeling of first being in war for the first time, and that whole first day and that whole first moment where we stepped in there, it's this combination of, so the first part is the day leading up to it, tons of nerves, tons of anxiety, tons of fear, but at the same time, this confidence and certainty that the people you're with, the people you're going in with, you trust with your entire life. Wow. You've done so much training with them. You're looking left and right. You love them with all your heart. You fully believe in what you're going in for.
Yes.
You believe with literally all your heart why you're going in defending the state of Israel. And you're willing to give your life for it, and you know it. But at the same time, you're so confident in all your training. With that, tons of fear, tons of anxiety, looking left and right, wondering if your best friend that you've taken a million pictures with and done a million things with and love and met his parents and met his kids and met his girlfriend and or wife or whatever, looking at them, they might not come back, and I might not come back, writing in my notes of my phone a goodbye letter to my family and friends.
You did that?
I wrote it in my phone, my notes thing.
Do you still have that note?
No, I deleted it. I think it was bad luck.
Wow. That's really powerful.
Deleting, like writing a message.
Yeah.
Those moments are really heavy.
Yeah.
And then the second we stepped foot in Gaza and we got off, it's like all the training clicked into place. It's kind of like when you're nervous before a race or before a big
it's just like
school
stepping
exam.
on
And the
stage.
second the exam actually starts or the race actually starts and you start running, you just get into it.
Yes.
Same thing. You're just like, okay, head on a swivel, this, that.
Yeah.
Way more real. It's really building up inside you, all the anxiety, all the everything. But you're also just so calm, complacent, knowing exactly what you have to do.
Yeah.
And it stays. And your adrenaline also kicks in. So your fight or flight goes from 0 or 10 or whatever to 1,000, like in 2 seconds.
How do you live, months after month to be in that state of constant adrenaline and
tough.
cortisol like pumping through your system? How do you come down from that? And do many soldiers like have real difficulty kind of adjusting back into normal life after that kind of high level stress?
So it's a super good question. I'm so happy you asked it, especially with Veterans Day being yesterday and numerous suicides of IDF soldiers since the start of the war. And of American soldiers and of combat soldiers in general, since any war they've been in. It's a huge, huge issue. Everyone loves supporting and all the sexy going into battle. And I hate calling it sexy, but you know what I'm talking about. Like the brave going into battle, but then the second the battle's over and the war is won or whatever, these wounds are oftentimes not seen on soldiers for forever, for years, for anything.
Yes.
It's not like a leg that's not there.
It's deep trauma.
Deep inside.
Yeah.
And what happens is anywhere from deep trauma, which could be losing your leg, to carrying a friend of yours who lost his leg or who's dead and you have to carry him back, that would be deep, deep trauma in my opinion, to more subtle ones where we nearly had numerous events where we almost died, like numerous events. But thank God I never had to carry an injured friend. I never had to carry a dead friend. I never personally got shot physically. Like I have no injuries.
Thank God. Yes.
Thank God.
Yes.
But that tension that you were talking about, that goes in and you have 1,000 out of 100 level of adrenaline in your system, and your body needs that. I was just talking to a friend the other day who is a civilian who had gone into the war zone as like to report for her first time ever going into a war zone, and she was saying how scary it was and how this and like they even made her more scared, but once she was in there it felt a little bit more normal, but that heightened thing was always there and it took her a while to come down. We live there for weeks, months on end because you have to be there. And what happens is a soldier jumps to that high level of anxiety or adrenaline and stays there. However, we get used to that. So it's not that the anxiety or tension goes down. It's that becomes our new baseline.
Yes.
So this ends up going up and your body becomes acclimated to that. So when you leave the war 3 weeks, months, years, whatever it is later, your body goes to normal life. You don't have a sense of purpose anymore because the purpose was sky high, saving the Jewish population, saving Israel, saving your family. Yeah. You felt it on your shoulders in the best, most proud way. Day to day is not nearly as active, not nearly as crazy. All these things go down, and soldiers just feel a lack of sense of purpose and fulfillment. They feel lost. They can't connect with their wives, with their girlfriends, with their partners, with people on dates, with their best friends. It's harder for them to connect. Levels of priority, levels of everything are completely gone. And they feel like they can't connect with anyone in the normal world anymore. And then that's why you have people committing suicide.
What do you think?
And soldiers in combat and battle, whether I meet an IDF soldier who was in the war or an American soldier who was in the war, the second you know both people first of all served, but then especially served during war and in combat, level of respect, level of understanding, that eye to eye of like, I see you, I've been there, I get it, is unmatched.
Wow. So what do you like think is the most important thing to counteract that once a soldier's returned from war? Do you think that community is paramount? Do you think that it's those like deep relationships that you have with your fellow like veterans that you can relate to things that are otherwise impossible for someone who hasn't been there with you to relate to?
Yeah, I think it's really important to have a sense of community that understands what you've been through. And it's harder for me personally because while I can relate with American soldiers, it's much easier for me to relate, and I can relate with Israeli soldiers, it's much easier for me to relate with American lone soldiers who are also in the war, which there are far and few between of us.
How many are there?
I don't know, but not a lot. I mean, I know a lot of them here in the States. Like we do know each other, and we hang out, and I was just with two of them today on the helicopter that we got
amazing.
to go on.
That's amazing.
But and I was with my teammates as well, who are visiting. But I think when you come back from war, from combat, the best way to deal with that reacclimation process, and I'm far from an expert, I want to preface that,
I think
and I'm still learning
being
it.
in a war, fighting in a war, and living that, it makes you an expert.
Yeah, well, I'm saying I'm still figuring out the reacclimation part because I'm in the journey of it still, and I wouldn't say I'm still dealing with my own stuff, so it's something that everyone deals with. And a Navy SEAL that I spoke with about a year and a half ago, when I first came out of Gaza, said it perfectly. And when you get out of war, he was asked, do you feel like you've reacclimated yet? This was a few months later, a year later. And he said, you've never reacclimated, you're always reacclimatizing.
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It's a constant journey, because once you've experienced that, once you've put your body through that, you're constantly going through it. To this day, I'll wake up and I'll wonder where my gun is.
No way. That's wild.
I don't own a gun. I don't have a permit for a gun. I don't have a license here. I don't have anything.
Yes.
But I always wonder, and I'm like, oh my God, where?
Because when you're in combat, that's the first thing all the time.
You have to have it all the time.
Yeah.
It's always on you.
So
the fact that I'm in civilian life and I'm having a coffee with a friend and I see someone walk by and I wonder where's my gun is some subtle form of post-trauma.
Yeah.
It's not a huge one, right? It's not me hiding under the table, and there's more severe forms. But it's a very subtle form, and I think it needs to be acknowledged that every soldier in combat has that and should be respected and should be appreciated. But when you first come back, that sense of community, finding it, people you can connect with. Two is giving yourself understanding and time and space that this isn't going to happen overnight. You don't have to get into this right away. I'd say number three is if you can find something that gives you purpose and fulfillment, it'll be very tough to reach the same level. But I personally feel like a lot of what I do, I feel very fulfilled, very huge sense of purpose, especially being on this podcast with you. I get to share about it, I get to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Eli.
Like it's therapy for me to talk about. And I think people need to find ways to do that. And I think avoiding drugs, avoiding alcohol, working out, finding other sense of releasing. So I do ultramarathons, which for me raises your adrenaline super high.
The New York Marathon dressed as Batman for the Beavis Boys. Is that? I mean, like to go from Gaza and you didn't take a break. You just went straight into speaking at these incredible events. And I mean, like every day I see another Instagram post of you speaking in front of 1,000 Christians last night, or
that was actually a while ago.
Okay.
I was just
sure. But I mean,
but in general, for the last week, I've probably had 6 speaking engagements.
Wow,
incredible! Came back from Gaza, had a couple meetings, which were really cool meetings, and then met with the New York Consul General of Israel. Yeah. Then I raised the flag for Israel going down the New York Parade of Nations for the marathon. Then ran the marathon for the Beavis Boys, which is every single time I do it, I have the best time running for them. Yeah. I feel their energy in me. I know it sounds weird to say.
For anyone who doesn't know the story of the Beavis Boys, would you mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Sharing? So the Beavis Boys, Kfir and Ariel Bibas, were 9 months old and 4 years old at the time of their captivity. Their mother, Shiri Bibas, and their father, Yarden Bibas, were also kidnapped from Kibbutz Nir Oz in the south of Israel. They were kidnapped by Hamas, and about a year later, the two boys, 9-month-old and a 4-year-old, were returned in body bags. Same with their mother, Shiri, who at first was actually not returned. It was a different random Gazan woman's body. And then only after Israel said, look, we have DNA testing that didn't happen, did they return the right body. And Yarden Bibas, God bless his soul, is, being a trooper and staying strong. Is staying strong and continuing to live and push forward and fight and, tell his family story. And I'm honored to, I've spoken with not him, but with them before, with like the family to a degree and their account, and they're big supporters of what I do. I'm speaking with Yarden's sister, so the boy's aunt, tonight, actually.
Wow.
And for me, it's super important. I have so first of all, the two boys loved Batman. Really, the 4-year-old, Ariel Bibas, loved Batman. He dressed as Batman for Purim, which is essentially like Halloween. Let's just call it like that. So he dressed as Batman for Purim, and he was going to dress as Batman for Purim, the upcoming one. And because he's kind of become a symbol, Batman has become a symbol of the Bibas boys. So I run these marathons as Batman. In their honor, I carry a big Israel flag because I want it to be known. I'm not just some fun Batman that's going around, right? I want people to make a connection. And I've now started putting a picture of the Bibas boys on me. And people ask me, are those your kids? And I say, no, it's not my kids. And I explain the story. I'm putting a QR code next so people can just scan it as I run by.
That's beautiful.
It's like, why am I Batman? QR code that you can scan. And it'll tell the story. So for me, the Bibas boys symbolize the innocence of the hostages. It's an awful story that happened to them, but they symbolize and they represent something so much more powerful for the Jewish people, because it was, if the Jewish people and the people of Israel felt like it was our boys that were taken. These are innocent people that were taken. These aren't soldiers. These aren't prisoners that have, done bad things. They don't have any political beliefs whatsoever. They're just cute little ginger, adorable boys. That's all they represent. It's so sad,
like you talking about this, but it's so important.
That's who Hamas took, and that's who Hamas killed in captivity. And it just represents so much more. And that's why I do it. And
do you feel like that? Spreading the awareness of the horrors of what actually happened on October 7th, especially considering the bizarre, and I see it as demonically inverted from my 100%. Perspective. It is literally like the demonic agenda trying 100%. To invert, call good evil and evil good. It's so clear to anyone with spiritual eyes to be able to see, unprovoked, 1,200 innocent civilians were brutally murdered. 250 were, in addition to that, kidnapped, and only a very tiny fraction of them, thank God, when you literally, weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, you were the first Israeli faces that they'd seen after being captive in the tunnels by Hamas for over 2 years. It's so difficult to conceive. Obviously, we're so blessed. Our freedom, which is suddenly not free, and I'm grateful every day for the incredibly brave men and women who fight in the American armed forces and the American military, because anybody who is sacrificing and risking their own life to protect their democratic free nation is a hero.
100%.
Undoubtedly.
I have so much respect for my brothers and sisters in the U.S. military. I think, quick little shout out to the listeners, but 2 things that, at least for me, I really appreciate, and I try to do to U.S. soldiers when I see them, and they're very small and they feel like nothing, but it sends a big message still, is one, if you see a soldier, especially in uniform, thank him for his service.
Absolutely.
It sounds corny, and you feel like you're corny kind of saying it, but if you take that moment and you feel almost scared to say it and randomly, but if you just, quickly. You don't have to stop and make a big deal about it. See them walking by.
Literally
hey, thank you for your service.
them for keeping
give them a
your
handshake
life
if you want.
safe, for keeping your society safe.
It's
I think
so small,
people,
and anytime I hear it, I appreciate it so much. And the other one that is also really, really nice, and it's only if you have the means, is if you're, for example, if I was at a restaurant in the Dallas airport and I saw a guy in uniform and, at 2-3 hour layover, was eating whatever, and I saw a soldier in uniform having a drink and a sandwich, just quietly telling the waiter, hey, I'll cover his tab.
That's so beautiful. Yes.
Don't tell him who it is. Just let him know, thank you for your service from someone who's here.
Love that. Yeah.
Or you can, go and thank him for service and tell him, doesn't matter. But doing the little things like that, it's like a little gift you can say, and it's a silent thing. And it's happened to me numerous times as a soldier, and I'm beyond touched when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think those two things, if the listeners could take anything away, that would be
so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really about honoring the fact that we don't have a free society. We don't have a safe democratic place to live without our military.
100%. There are people that want to kill us.
Israel is exactly the same. And I think what's so deeply, and I would say, I can go on a tangent because I think it's purposefully misunderstood and twisted, and there's a whole, insane demonic propaganda machine behind it.
100%.
But people who call
I love it.
literally people who call the IDF, in any way, I specifically would like to ask, where were you, and were you on the ground in Israel? Were you somewhere else? Were you in Gaza when? I don't even want to mention his name, although I find it really
Sinwar?
Bob Villain, who hopefully you don't know, hopefully you don't remember where you were, and hopefully, this is a man who decided to use his Glastonbury set, which, is a great honor to perform at a festival that is seen worldwide, and he used his time on stage to chant "Death, death" to the IDF, which
that was a kneecap or something.
Bone chilling.
Right?
That was another. There's unfortunately been many, people who I would say.
So Bob Villain also did it. You're saying?
He did.
I don't even know who he is, but
good.
Yeah.
He shouldn't. He's nobody. I'm sorry, but he genuinely is he's a soulless person who, I definitely don't want to give him any more attention.
Totally.
But I think, apart from the fact that I think it's, quite comical that he would call himself after an actually prolific Jewish artist,
and also add
twist
the name Villain in there.
Exactly. That's demonic inversion 101.
It's the perfect irony of the entire situation.
It's literally, that's to me, I think the devil is so stupid that frankly, he reveals himself constantly.
Yeah.
And even, that specific instance is just seriously, really?
Literally.
But he, there was a lot of media around it, and it was sort of, this statement that became known in people's minds. That is literally calling for the death of not just innocent, wonderful humans like yourself, who are so heroically fighting in a war, to defend the one and only democracy in the Middle East. It's so twisted and backwards that, in a country like England, that people would be cheering for such a insane thing. And then the BBC actually airing it, and there's a whole
giving them attention, giving them a voice, giving them
amplifying that nonsense and hate, and it's dangerous because you're talking. So I'm glad you don't remember where you were.
I probably saw it. I remember the kneecap one more.
Okay, yeah.
But both of them, and I don't remember exactly where I was. Most likely I was in LA or in the States speaking or working or doing something when I saw it.
Because that's personally it makes my blood boil, because I feel like it's the venom and the hate towards Zionists, Jews, anyone who loves and believes in the state of Israel and to have their their rights to exist. It's so basic. But anyone who's violently against that and calling upon violence against what is, if anyone who is. For
me, it's personally feel attacked or offended at all.
Really?
Even though they're obviously talking about me.
Yeah, I mean, like, Can you, Eli, like, explain
that? For me,
that?
it's more, I get mad about it because I see the state of the world that people would do that.
Yes.
And I'm sad about how much anti-Semitism there is. I think back to the Holocaust and what the world was like when my grandpa was a kid, and it's everything that's happening now is very similar to what was happening pre-World War II Nazi Germany. And it's happening in England, this is happening in the Netherlands, it's happening in Australia, it's happening in Toronto, it's happening in New York City.
Yeah.
With Mamdani being elected.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
We'll get too into politics there, but like it's happening all over.
Yes.
It's very scary, and it doesn't make my blood boil in anger. It makes me scared in that sense. But when I hear these attacks, death to the IOF, I'm not personally scared at all. I'm also not ever questioning what I did because I'm so proud. And I'm so confident in the actions that I did and my teammates did. And I know we acted morally. I know we acted to the best of our abilities. I know we acted with a clear conscience, with love, with as much goodness and wholeness as we could. Because I say this all the time, our officer had told us, and I actually posted about it today, our officer told us every single morning, no matter how angry you are about what happened on October 7th, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, family members, best friends. I landed in Israel. A good friend of mine, I found out, was killed on October 7th.
I'm so sorry.
No matter all of that,
we're
Jewish people. We have a Jewish soul. Lead with love, lead with kindness, lead with good intention. Make those the decisions and the values and the energy that's leading you. And anytime you have to pull the trigger and anytime you're doing anything, of course, be focused and alert, but have that. And that's the Jewish essence. And that's how we led every single day while we were in Gaza, every single time we went there. So because of that, I know, and I'm so confident, I'm so proud in everything that we did, that when they call me a child murderer on social media, when they call me a rapist, and when they called me how many civilians have you killed, and a Nazi, and a terrorist, and you deserve to die in hell, and everything under the book, I don't care. I almost feel like Neo in the Matrix, where it's not even like I need to dodge the bullets. I just kind of like, I'm just like observing
That's
it.
Incredible.
The bullets just kind of stop. I'm like, I don't care.
Eli, that's really an extraordinary way.
Takes all the hate, and I've now just screenshot hate comments that I particularly like. And I have a whole album of like hundreds in my phone now. I just save them under hate comments. And I just look back and I laugh at them every now and then.
That's
and like
amazing.
I couldn't give two shits about what these people say.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm just scared that there's a lot of them, and I'm scared for the world. That's all I would say.
So you're more scared for the soul of the world, and for the fact that for I would say majority, although it breaks my heart to say that, but from what I've seen and witnessed,
I think it's
a silent majority.
The silent majority is actually on our side. I think it's the loud minority. Is what we're seeing.
Yeah, that really makes perfect sense. Yeah, but because their voice is amplified by, for instance, like, I mean, the BBC news just broke this week, which is why I think it's, anyone who's saying sort of there's no bias, that the mainstream media has had no bias, it's like, you have to wake up to the fact that the mainstream media since October 7th, and I'd say way before that, but has been so purposely trying to skew people's idea of what's actually happening on the ground there. So I have friends
that work at CNN that are Jewish and pro-Israel, and they're like, I wish we could report the things we want to report.
Would you mind talking a little about, or like, I mean,
I wouldn't want to say their names.
Yeah.
But they want to talk more about these issues, and they can't, and they're being limited because
prevented.
Of what they need to.
Yeah, so that's a real thing. That's the head of the BBC just resigned over like exactly that of purposefully editing, and I mean it's I think that's why for myself as a podcaster it's really important, because here we're free to have truthful conversations about what's really happening. About I mean, for me, spiritual truth is everything. My relationship with God is paramount to everything I do in my life, and so I know that the importance of speaking truth to power and the importance of like shining light on the darkest of places, and especially when the dark narrative, which, you know, is just a complete twisted inversion that is actually the opposite of the truth of what's happening, is amplified, and the truth gets buried, or, you know, it's in like a smaller echo chamber of just, you know, Israelis or people that
that's my biggest fear, is that when I talk and when I speak, it just stays within this echo chamber of pro-Israel people, and like that's who's hearing it, and I don't need to reach them. Like, I love them, and I want to reinforce them, and I speak to them all the time because I want to reinforce their passion, because it's a ripple effect, and I want to keep them believing in what they're believing. But it's also why I love being on your podcast, because you don't have, like, you have people that aren't just pro-Israel Jews probably following you and listening to you and all that. And it allows me to reach audiences that may not have ever heard from Israeli soldiers and firsthand accounts. And whenever I speak to churches, it makes my day, because I know Christians are so supportive of Israel. I have so many Christian friends that are beyond supportive of us.
Yeah.
But oftentimes they've never met, you know, other Christians. When I speak at churches, they've never met an IDF soldier. So they support Israel because it's the right thing to do, just like blatantly.
And
it's in the
very,
Bible.
very abundantly
Very
clear to anyone who's actually biblically.
But beyond that, it's in the Bible, and, you know, I know it's he who blesses Israel shall be blessed, and he who curses Israel shall be cursed.
Also, like, when Jesus returns, he's returning to Israel.
To Israel, and
yes.
we're the chosen people. And it feels weird saying that. I know it says that in the Bible, but it's also just the obvious right thing to do. And I think Christians and people with Judeo-Christian values are very connected with what's the moral thing, what's the right thing, what is clearly, like, they have a very clear vision of what's right and what's wrong. And that's why I love that there's so many Christians on our side, because they're so morally pure, and they're 2020 moral vision, that they've sided with Israel. And I'm like, thank God. Like,
yes,
it's so freaking obvious.
Yes, it is so freaking obvious to anybody who's like, you know, spiritually awake enough to see. Unfortunately, you have people, you know, who don't actually have the Holy Spirit living within them, but you know, in the name of our Lord, do awful things like spread absolute nonsense. And, you know, that's been going on since the beginning of time. I mean, in every religion, there are people that will, you know, come forward in God's name and do atrocious things.
But I mean, look at extreme Islam.
Yes, we can't even touch on that conversation, because that's, yes.
I don't think Muslims are bad. I have Muslim friends.
Yes.
But you take the extremist sects of Islam, and look at what they're doing with terrorism. It's just plain as day. Yes,
it truly is, and it's very alarming and concerning for you know, the entire Western world, and every society that's been successful because the Judeo-Christian values are deeply ingrained in that society. Totally. America, Australia, you know, England, although it's like on the brink right now, because who knows what's happening there. But
not so Great Britain.
Not so great. It's, I mean, Great Britain is extraordinary, but unfortunately,
I heard someone say that before, and I was like, that's Jesus.
But if, I mean, like, the reason why all of these countries are so wonderful is because of their Judeo-Christian values.
Totally.
And once you replace that with extremist Islamic, once you replace that with extreme Islam, I can't say that. My mouth will literally not let me say that, probably. But it changes the core of the soul of a land, and you can't. Once you go down that rabbit hole, I mean, it's not. They're not interested in assimilation. No. They are not interested in, you know, adopting the values of the country that they are coming to.
Yep.
And these, I'm obviously talking about the extremists, but it means that, like, us as Christians, as Jews who safely, harmoniously, and, you know, spiritually leading our lives to better the world, will be overrun by those who are answering to, you know, a different entity that is
Totally.
not interested in peace.
Totally.
And so I think it's like it's sort of like the canaries in the coal mine right now are being very vocal about that. What you mentioned before, that never before on a global scale have we seen anti-Semitism at large in such a way that it's almost like I've had experiences where somebody, will assume, just because, I'm honestly not sure where that like disastrous assumption comes from, but we'll assume, I guess, because it's become such a commonly accepted thing that just in a conversation, about the weather, we'll suddenly go into some anti-Semitic tirade. Like it's just normal. And I'd never experienced that up until after October 7th. So I'm wondering, like, have you noticed, what have you witnessed as a sort of, do you feel like it almost, like the mainstream media giving so much amplification and voices, like these rabid anti-Semites and saying not only is that okay, we're going to continue to broadcast them, we're going to continue to, support them. Do you think that that's changed what you call the loud minority, but people protesting in the streets, very violently against Jews?
Very violently.
What do you think has changed, and what do you see is going to be like the shift that it'll go back towards the right direction?
Hopefully. I think anti-Semitism is being masked as anti-Zionism. And
course,
Jews recognize it, Jews see it, Jews feel it. People are calling it, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm just anti-Zionist. I'm against Israel, but I'm not anti-Semitic. I love Jews. But that 99% of Jews in the world are Zionistic. They believe in Israel. They love Israel. You saying that is directly being against Jews. And if you look at the actions of all these anti-Zionists, they're attacking Jews in the streets. They're identifying them by their kippah or by their Magen David. That's how they're attacking them in the streets. When we were in Gaza, the last mission I went on actually was inside of we were looking for a tunnel complex, massive tunnel complex to a massive data center, huge intelligence compound for Hamas. And it was in a tunnel, and our biggest lead for that tunnel was in this alleyway right in between a middle school and an elementary school. We find the tunnel underneath there. So first of all, their tunnel to the biggest data center was underneath an elementary school and a middle school. An UNRWA one. So a United Nations funded, a US tax dollar funded, a Great Britain tax dollar funded. Underneath that was a massive Hamas data center. So then once we found that, we needed to look for other tunnel entrances. We went into the UNRWA school. And I say this pretext because we would never have gone into the UNRWA school without the fact that there was a tunnel complex that was found underneath. If the tunnel complex wasn't found, we would never go into an UNRWA school because it's against the law. It's against international war laws. But because we found a military base underneath, that gives us justification because it's clearly we have to look for other tunnels. So we were looking for it. And inside the school, we found Mein Kampf in Arabic.
You physically found
physical
a copy of Mein Kampf
in Arabic in a school. And that's when it really hit me, because so many times before that, we had seen throughout that school, and we actually had to go to another school for a different reason a few weeks prior, but we would see big maps of Israel, but like Palestine without different borders. So clearly they want from the river to the sea. They want, pictures of the Nakba.
For anyone that doesn't understand, that means to eradicate all of Israel entirely.
All of Israel, yeah. Not the 1967 borders, which has West Bank and Gaza and different land partitions. Not that, which was originally agreed upon. Nothing like that. It was completely different. And but that could be teaching them anti-Zionism. When you find Mein Kampf in the school, you're teaching them to hate Jews because of Jews, and you're saying that they're bad people for all these heinous reasons that have obviously been proven false. And that was then carried. I finished that mission. We got back into normal life, and we were released from our first draft, or from our first tour of duty. And I got into, and then you see the encampments all over Columbia and UCLA and all the schools around the country, and you see them chanting all these things, and you hear, you hear the guy on the New York City bus station saying, "Is there any Zionists in this building?" I would have, if I was on that building, if I was inside that subway, I would have raised my hand and said, "I'm a Zionist."
It's incredibly courageous.
And
yes,
people are scared. Jews are scared. My friends are scared to wear kippahs, to wear their tzitzim, which is like the little strings on the side, to have their Magen David, to have a chai. Jews are scared to show their Judaism because of these anti-Zionists.
Which is actually masking
anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big reasons that when I dress and when I run these marathons as Batman, I'm not just in a Batman. I'm not just wearing the picture of the B-Bus Boys, and I say just very, like it's very important. Just having that costume is in and of itself very important to me. But in addition, I have this massive Israel flag, and I'll go all through all the most anti-Semitic parts of New York City, or through San Francisco, which has a lot of anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism.
Yes, Eli, to say
it's
that
going
you're
through
one of the
all
bravest
of these people because I want Jews to be able to see, be proud of being pro-Israel, be proud of being Jewish, show it, wear a kippah, do whatever. I'm not a practicing, Jew in the sense that I wear a kippah, but don't be scared. And I get it. I'm a stronger guy. I'm combat. I can defend myself. But do the little, if I can carry a massive Israel flag through Brooklyn, through parts of New York City that are very anti-Israel, people screamed at me, "Free Palestine." People screamed at me, "Long live Hamas." People screamed at me, "God bless Hamas." I went up to someone wearing a Palestinian flag. I was like, "Hey, let's hug for peace," something like that. She goes, she said, "You're not IDF, are you?" I said, "I am IDF." And, she just like looked at me, just disgust, and was just like, killer. And I was like, everyone around was saying, "Look, he's trying to make peace. He's trying to like have a connection." And it made them look terrible because everyone around wanted this moment of unity.
Yeah.
But showing that pride and that you're not scared to do that, the least Jews can do is wear their Israel, wear their Magen David, wear their chai. Chai is like the symbol of Judaism.
I've seen like even,
That's fighting the anti-Semitism. It's fighting the anti-Zionism because you let them win when you start hiding. You let them win when you're scared. When you start cowering, that's when we've lost the battle. And there's a famous quote that says, it's from Golda Meir, "We don't need your aid. I'm not a trembling Jew. I'm a Jew with 3,000 years of history. And now I have a country, and now I have a people that's going to defend me. And we are here as Jews defending ourselves. We have Christian brothers and sisters who are defending us and standing up for us. Don't be scared."
Wow.
Like it's that clear. Don't be scared. Be proud.
Yes, that's such a beautiful message, and I think it's imperative that Christians and Jews unite in their 100%. one like common, not only obviously the ancestry of the fact that Christianity was birthed from our Jewish Messiah, 100%. And Jesus is a Jew, and he always 100%. Will be. That will 100%. Forever, be a fact. And I know that every passionate biblical Christian has in their bones that same passion to defend the Holy Land that is both the Holy Land for Christians and as it is for Jews. And so, I am planning a trip, which I am very excited about, which, I want to get baptized in the Jordan River, which is something that many people, every year go as a pilgrimage.
Wow,
and, there's so many holy sites there, like for the holiest sites in Christianity are also in Israel.
Yeah, Nazareth.
So the idea that, that being Zionist is somehow a negative thing is quite literally insane.
It's so simple. It just means that you believe in the existence of the state of Israel, a state in the land of Israel that's for the Jewish people. Doesn't go into partition, doesn't go into two-state, but do you believe that Jewish people have the right to exist and have their own state in the land of Israel?
Yes.
Clear as day. If you don't, or you do, and like that, if you don't, it means you want Israel wiped off the map. You want Israel wiped off the map. You want over 50% of the world's Jewish population wiped off or eradicated or genocided or whatever you want to call it to be moved. It's our soul. It's our everything. The second you want that, you're anti-Semitic, in my opinion. But people don't realize that that's what Zionism is. The word Zionism has been corrupted to basically mean I support the Israeli government's massacring of children. And it's like, there's so much wrong with everything you just said.
Yes.
It's not that. We're not doing it. Let's redefine everything.
One of the main tools of deception that the enemy uses, and you'll hear I talk a lot about the spiritual warfare of good versus evil, because I see it very clearly with my own eyes and heart, and every Christian that has the gift of discernment can clearly see it. Every person, whether they're whether they have actually a strong faith or not, if they have their God-given, although they might not know it's God-given, but their innate instincts that have been placed deep within inside them to know what is right and what is wrong. We can clearly see that eradicating an entire population, not even going into the fact that they were there before, not all of that, totally. But just right now, how many people are living in Israel happily, freely, living their lives?
Tons of Christians, Jews,
exactly.
Druze.
It's like 2 million Arabs are living there, as far as I understand, completely free, have exactly the same rights as everyone else.
There's a higher percentage per capita of Arab Muslim doctors than Jewish doctors.
There you go. So
there
this
Arabs,
wonderful
Muslims
country
serving in the Supreme Court.
Yes. To say that
genocide or apartheid.
Yeah, but the irony, the deep, sick and demonic irony is, of course, that by claiming genocide where there is no genocide, you take away the power of the fact that calling from the river to the sea is calling for an actual genocide.
100%.
So once again, it's the
I've had this argument with so many people, and they're like, "That's not what they mean." I'm like, "That's what it means."
That's what it means.
Maybe you have changed it in your own mind to something, but then say something. But that's what it means. That's what the word came from.
Yes.
From the river to the sea was in Hamas's doctrine.